Congratulations! You have decided to take a brave step and run a campaign. Now you get to take your players on an amazing quest where they defeat a power-hungry wizard, prevent a war, or stop the corporate company from cutting down the sacred woods. But before we get into all that, I think we need to start with some of the basics. Building from the ground up, getting the anchoring points for your devious web. We're going to talk you through some of the things you need to consider before you start your first session, or at least what we think you should. So here, take this jetpack, you're gonna need it, as we fly our way towards Roleplay or Replay.
I have questions.
What kind of questions?
For one, where was my jetpack when I was starting D&D? I want a jetpack. And for two, I feel like you made that far too professional, as if this is going to be like an all-encompassing guide that's going to answer all the questions anyone ever has, and we're not nearly that good.
Well, you know, if it doesn't, we can always answer more questions in a future episode. But I mean, it's we've got some knowledge now. Have more confidence in thyself.
I refuse.
Oh, okay.
I confidently refuse. Wait a minute.
I guess this could be one of two ways.
Well, I do like the fact that you've predetermined me having to spontaneously come up with a vehicle of choice, because clearly we're riding the jetpack of joy. To DM discussion.
Woo!
The best part about that transition is, as I said to DM discussion, I did the whole pose where you like point to the sky.
I love it.
So, here we are in episode 6.
Oh, yes. Oh, this is the 6th episode.
I mean, we kind of touched on a couple of these topics in episode 1, because that was all about getting into it.
Yes.
But I suppose that was definitely also more from a player perspective, and this is 100%. Well, no, there was mixed player and DM perspective back then. But this is 100% us as DMs thinking we know what we're talking about.
Pretending we know what we're talking about.
I feel like you should lead this one because you planned it.
Damn it. Okay. Well,
your turn.
First thing you gotta decide when you decide to become a D&D DM or any DM or GM.
I would like to become a D&D, please.
A D&D.
Hello there. My name is Timmy. I've come here to your shop and I would like to become a D&D. Please tell me more.
Well, actually, I think the first point that is not on here that you just made me think of that we should discuss is it's easier said than done, but know that not everything's going to go to plan. Some things are going to get messed up. Some you'll forget some bits and pieces, and the players are going to take the piss out of you for certain things. But it's all part of the fun. You just have to accept that is coming your way. Roll with the punches.
Me misspeak or make a mistake, never.
I think it's become pretty clear on this than I'm realizing is I have more of a, not a full, but a bit of a stammer on some words. Where my brain just stops working. I'm like, where was I going with this?
Bro, we both do that.
Yeah.
My vocabulary is the worst part of my language ability. And that goes not just for English, but it was the same in French and German when I was doing those at school. Like, I could get the grammar down easy, but I could never remember words for anything. My brain just doesn't remember words with meanings. I have the vocabulary of like a 11-year-old
Uh,
who did a maths degree, but never mind.
we're
Just
both
throw in a
maths
few maths
people.
terms. Throw in a few maths terms and an 11-year-old's vocabulary. There you go. That's me.
Oh, yeah. One of the things that I picked up from doing this podcast now is how much I say and I am having to work so hard. I'm trying to work so hard on that now because it's not something I picked up on before. But
I mean,
yeah.
as the person who has to listen through the entire podcast 2 to 3 times every week because of edits, I don't think it's... I've heard way worse than your ers and ums. I don't think they're overwhelming and that people are going to pick up on it. It's not like you do it every couple of words, you know. Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah.
So yeah, I think don't stress about it, Pine.
Yeah. Well,
You gotta not stress about it.
The advice we're giving to you listening is just it is easier said than done, but try not to stress about it. It is just you're there to have fun, and everybody starts somewhere, and nobody's gonna be a pro.
Don't know what you're about, mate. Don't know what you're about. We've already established in the past that I'm better than Mark Humes, so...
This is true.
Disclaimer, not true. Mark, I love you. If by some miracle you ever hear this, hit me up.
Oh,
that's never going to happen, but I don't care.
Dreams. We have dreams.
I can dream, Harold. That's a completely random reference. Anyway, to the actual discussion part. Now that we've got the don't stress about it out of the way.
Yeah. Well, the first things you're going to need to decide, this is one of the points we brought up before, is whether you're going to do homebrew or pre-written. So there's lots of good pre-written documents out there. Most of the ones that I've looked at are from Pathfinder, and they are really good. Like with how they're written, they give you basics at the beginning and advice on how to run it. You get all your encounters set up, ready for you with the stat blocks and everything. You get your maps given to you, important NPCs, the whole shebang. It gives you advice. It also, I was reading one earlier, and some points it breaks down. If your players are doing this, then you can run this way, and if your players are doing this other thing, you can run it another way. So their example was, if your players are already playing and you've already got heroes and this is like another step in their journey, then start the campaign by doing it this way. But if they're new and they're creating new characters, then you can start it this other way. I think that's really good. Yeah.
Dynamic DMing.
Yes.
Interesting. I think in general with this question of homebrew versus pre-written, it's going to be a balance. It's as with all things in life, I say sagely. It's going to be a balance between how ambitious you are to like create your own world, how much time you have to do anything,
yes, time,
and whether the actual world building is a part of the experience you want, or if you just want to get in and play. Because like, I imagine some people out there would just be like, I just want to play a game and I want my friends to be involved. Here's a book. I'm going to run this book.
Yeah.
And that's the much easier, less time consuming way. But if you really want to, tell your own story in a medium where you can share it with people and people have fun, but it's not going to have all the hurdles of like writing a book or film or getting into that massive industry of competitiveness, then I don't know, writing a homebrew D&D campaign is a great way to do that.
Yeah.
I kind of dipped out of the whole creative writing, imagination, world building thing quite a long time ago. I think I liked it at primary school and I liked it in the early days of secondary school, but I just sort of drifted away from that kind of thing. And coming to D&D has reignited that spark for me.
Yeah.
Even though I'm stealing most of the story, the bits that I'm not stealing, where I'm getting to fill in my own stuff and be creative about it it's filling a hole that I didn't realise was there.
Yeah. I feel like...
So if there's that ambition there, then homebrew is your answer if you've got time.
Yes, definitely. I feel like I was very similar in that sense that I enjoyed writing in my early teens. But I was never very good with words or spellings or anything, and I lost interest with it because I just wasn't. It sounds really bad, but I wasn't getting any reward from it, in a sense.
Well, that's what I mean, is that it was part of what I was saying when I said you want to get some enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
If you're just a writer in the middle of nowhere, maybe, I don't know, like I don't really know the stages of getting a book published, for example, but if you just start writing stuff and send it to people, I feel like you're in the same as other competitive industries, like music, which I'm more familiar with. You're just going to get ignored for the first however many attempts.
Mm.
And if you're just doing it for yourself, then, well, again, that's even more the case. But D&D, when you get the feedback from your players, that's very rewarding, as long as obviously they're having fun and they say such.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Good.
So yeah, I fully agree with that. Whereas, I can also imagine, I know most people are more busy than I am. Like, that's just a fact of life, I think, it seems.
Yeah.
Have more hobbies or more friends or whatever. I'm happy with where I am in life, but they seem to like being busier, and therefore homebrew might not be an option for them.
Yeah.
I mean, we've said before, our friend Leaky would love to run a one-shot, but he just doesn't have time to set things up.
No.
If you're somewhere between myself and Pine's level of freedom and Leaky's level of freedom, then maybe a pre-written campaign is for you.
Definitely, yeah.
I guess the issue then is finding the right one, but that's where Google comes in. Google is your friend, I'm sure.
The other thing I would also consider before deciding which pre-written or which world, or whether you're going to fully homebrew it, before you get into it, is ask your players what kind of adventure they would like to go on, because it is the DM's kind of the DM's world, and they've got the idea of the big bad and everything or whatever, but it is a group storytelling experience, so the players are as much telling the story as the DM is when you're actually in those sessions.
Especially if you're like us and you do like the RP heavy side of things.
Yeah.
I know there are some people, and more power to them, who just want to roll dice and fight stuff.
Yeah.
And that's another thing to consider. But if you are there for the RP, then obviously you want to be there for RP that interests you. Yeah. I think of it though, I don't actually think there are many settings that I wouldn't like. Even things that I don't typically like in terms of reading and watching TV. Like, if someone put a murder mystery campaign in front of me, I'd probably have a blast. If someone put a horror campaign in front of me, I'd probably have a blast to some extent. It depends on what kind of horror. If it's just gore, if it's just a zombie apocalypse, then maybe I'd be bored. But if it was I've said this before, like last episode, with the Call of Cthulhu stuff, that kind of horror, that's kind of a mix of horror and murder mystery sometimes. So
yeah,
but that's just me rambling, tangent wise. Hi.
Well,
but yeah, that's the first decision that your group should make. What campaign are we running? And then you actually have to start preparing.
Yes. Now,
the joy and bane of every DM's life.
Now, I'm just going to switch these points around because I realised that it makes more sense to talk about session 0 before we talk about what to do before session 1.
Fun fact, I hadn't heard of the concept of session 0 until after I started my campaign.
Yeah, so you weren't there when I started mine. You weren't there on the right.
And I don't really consider Forest session 0 to be a session 0 anyway. It was just a session 1 to me.
Yeah, but this is something I did for my party, and I do recommend other people do, because it is somewhere you can run them a while before you're planning on actually starting, and it's just getting the group together, asking questions, starting to come up with character concepts. It can be whatever you want to make of it, but I know it's really good for setting boundaries, understanding players' boundaries, talking about if there's any subjects that can be off limits for people's personal for like safety tools kind of thing. You don't want to bring up someone's trauma, yeah. It can be really good to use it. I didn't use it for this, but it's something I probably do in the future, is getting your players together to first start discussing what kind of characters people would like to play, because then you can have all your players discussing if their backstories could be linked in any way and how they could be linked, like how they know each other. I wouldn't say give all your detail, get your players to 100% make your characters and give all your details in this session, because you want some mysteries for each player, but it can start off people understanding the group that's around you. And especially if you've got a brand new group who don't really know each other that well, it's a more relaxed environment for everyone to get to know each other.
My favourite thing about everything you just said about mysteries and details of player backstories is that Erethdor doesn't have a backstory.
Which has been amazing and painful all at the same time for me.
Well, it's been a dream for me, because I literally don't have a clue what's going to come up at all. I don't know what theme it's going to have. I don't know anything apart from these prequel sessions and the few flashbacks I've had. I love it. Yeah. But maybe don't bully your DM that much like I did. As a DM now, I can say the more backstory your players give you, the more fun you can have with it. Then again, I don't know, Pi, maybe you're having more fun with having 0. I don't know.
I am enjoying the Amnesia backstory now. When you first gave it to me, when you first like, my character's got amnesia and they're going to have flashbacks and all this stuff, I was a bit like, okay, this is going to be a lot of work for me, but I am really enjoying it now. Yeah, but yeah, it's something in session 0 you can discuss that with your DM and all that kind of stuff as well. If you were to have an amnesia background, checking that your DM is happy to put that extra work in if backgrounds are going to come up.
I guess I didn't really do that with my campaign. I just sort of approached everyone and said, what do you want to do? Here's the world. What you like?
Yeah. I mean, you can have personal session 0s as well if you want, if you just want one-on-one session 0s with each of your players.
Pretty much what I did. I don't even know if I did much of a personal one with you, really. I was just like, here's the world. And you were like, I've got all these details. I was like, okay. You were very decisive in what you wanted, I think.
Yes, yeah.
Also, there was a few questions, because, you want to know about a few gods and cities and cultures and things like that. But
I love character creation. It's great.
I'm not actually sure I do. Random tangent. I'm not sure I like character creation.
Really?
I like having an established character. I don't like getting to it. Like, especially, I think, getting to know my characters is the most fun bit, not creating them. Maybe it's the same thing. I don't know. I might just create them more slowly. I still haven't given much backstory to Forest for Falnot, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's besides the point.
Yeah, just the last thing I will say about Session 0 as well, if you are a busy person and you're still wanting to DM, there can be a lot of pressure put on you, but you could use Session 0 to ask your players to take on some roles. For example, we've got one person who's in charge of party loot. But you can also have a player in charge of making recaps at the beginning of each session, or just little things like having one person to have a player's handbook or something with them so that they can check rulings, and sort of like your own personal, I want to say rules lawyer, but not like a proper rules lawyer, but someone who just checks if you want a clarification on something.
I'm learning things. Screw it. We're scrapping it, Roas. We're starting again. I've done it all wrong.
No, don't scrap it, Roas. I miss honesty.
This is all advice. You can do it differently, but I think, having not done most of this stuff, it makes sense to have done it. So there you go. Yeah. From session 0 all the way to session 1.
Well.
Go.
Well, the time in between session 0 and session 1, which kind of I've bracketed this point as, how much should you prep before session 1? So, for me, I had a basic idea of what I wanted the story to be in, like the big bad. And I knew the little village that you were starting in and a few NPCs you might see around. But there wasn't a lot more detail than that to begin with. I fleshed it out as I've gone along, because I don't want to flesh out a city and just spend like months upon months trying to create the whole world, and then you guys only visit like 3 or 4 towns or something. So I'm very much more of a prep as you go and
100%
pieces. So yeah, I just
have a vague idea of the things that could come up early on.
Yeah.
For me, that was the gods are going to be heavily involved in this campaign. Everyone needs to know all the gods. You're in this continent. What's this continent known for? What cities are nearby? Not necessarily flesh them out, just name them. That's all you need to know, really, to start with.
Yeah.
Maybe, okay, this one's the capital. It's big on merchants or something. But certainly, session 1 for me was literally, and I'll go through this, and again, it's also partially stolen from I Roll as a Royce, episode 1. You can go watch it on YouTube if you like. You're in an airship. The airship gets attacked. Fight these guys. And that was the extent of the details, pretty much. There was a little bit of backstory where some people might have known what organization the bad guys belonged to, and that was it. That was the level of prep. Honestly, especially if it's your first time, focus more, in my opinion, on the systems of running it than the actual details of the world, I think. Get used to controlling NPCs and encounter NPCs and people who are going to be fighting and stat blocks, and get yourself familiar with the flow of narrating things rather than worrying about details in session 1 or before session 1.
Yeah.
That's certainly how I approached it. And as you said, the towns and cities that you've come across I've had ideas in my head. I haven't written them down. And then as soon as you said, we're going here, boom, I've detailed them.
Yep. That's what I do.
Obviously, clever storytellers will have ideas that link things together early on. So that when you get to that time, you're like, oh, I remember this detail that was mentioned some sessions ago. I mean, as simple as in your campaign, Pine, the fact that we were going to that town for a coronation. Like, obviously that's not a subtle clue. It's a pretty big one. It's the reason we're going there, but it's still a small detail in world building, right?
Yes. See, fun fact about that one is the coronation was one of the things that I've got like quoted onto like rumors, bits of information that you guys could pick up on in the city. So I just had a few things listed, and I knew, like, because the coronation is the coronation, I knew like things that were going to happen there that were going to be relevant to the story, but I didn't have anything fleshed out, didn't have the city fleshed out or anything. I had these several different rumors, and it was only when you guys focused on one and were like, we're going to go see this. I was like, okay, this is where they're going. This is what I need to build on.
Yeah. I think there's also an element of if you're doing your own first campaign, and it's not a one-shot, if it's like a whole campaign, and it's your first time, it's really, really good that all of the spells that can let people teleport halfway across the world are locked behind like level 8 and above.
Yes.
Because if you just appeared in a campaign like, right, I'm going to teleport to this continent, I'd be like, what? That continent has a name and a shape on a map, and that's about it. So this session is cancelled until I can write a whole continent. Yeah, I've drawn a world map for Rois and slowly had ideas of what might exist in places, but oh, thank Christ those teleportation spells don't exist yet. That's just a thought I've had from worrying about when you do get to those levels and you decide you're just going to hop over a continent in half a session.
You say that, but well, I don't know what spells Thorskrod's going to have in his arsenal, but we're not really spellcasters. I don't think we're going to get access to those
trying
spells.
to make up for that.
That's fair.
I mean, I've given you a magical blade that does stuff. Inazuma has magical lightning powers. Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
We'll see.
I'll see.
It might be just that you come across NPCs that can do magical teleportation circles at the click of a finger.
This is true.
Spoilers.
Everyone needs a wizard mummy or daddy in a campaign.
Precisely.
A mage or mummy or daddy.
Although, I was going to say, because of how much I lean towards the class, it's totally not going to be a sorcerer or anything.
No, why would it ever be?
I mean, what? I haven't planned any of this yet. Spoilers.
Subtle.
Who was it? I think it was Piers, one of my players and friends, who said, I don't know if I want to listen to the podcast all the time because it feels like you give too many spoilers. And I'm like, nah. Pine's there. She's a player. It can't be too many spoilers. I mean, if I do say too much, do tell me to shut up.
No,
I feel like I just hint at things that aren't important.
I feel like we give some tidbits. I may slip up on mentioning some things about the players that other players don't particularly know yet, but it's not like we're going, so this is my big bad and this is what he's got planned.
Yeah. So you know Arvel Dagus? He's actually a devil.
Oh my god.
Yeah, devil in disguise.
Oh my god.
Archdevil or whatever they're called, I don't know.
Could you imagine if this was a double bluff? Or a bluff.
Callus Valkyrian, great guy. Really nice.
Oh, amazing.
Spoilers aside, yes, that's I've forgotten what I was even talking about now.
Speaking of our players, next point, what to do about finding players.
I don't have much to provide for this because my method was ask my friends and cross my fingers.
See, this is a very difficult subject because, well, player dynamic is very important to a game. You cut, like, if you had people in your group who don't get on or they have clashing personalities, then it can affect the mood at the table.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very important part. And I mean, actually finding players, just asking the people that you think would be good players and would enjoy the game to get on. And you're never really going to know until you're all sat around the table.
I do have to ask how it feels for you as a DM, having hit the jackpot in this sense. Because, like, as much as I knew everyone else in the campaign apart from Albie, and I was like, yeah, they're all right, they're cool. You were obviously the one I'd spoken to the most because we've done a bunch of stuff before, and our friendship was blossoming and all that nonsense. But if you told me to pick a specific set of 6 people out of that entire sort of group and say, which of these 6 people do you think will just click like that? I don't know if I would have picked the same 6 people.
No. Well, obviously I did have issues in the beginning because I had a player drop.
I know, I can't believe you didn't pick me first. So insulted. So insulted.
We weren't as close as we are now. And I didn't know you wanted to play.
Why am I even here? Why am I even doing this podcast? You didn't even pick me first. I was second choice. 7th choice, if you think about it.
So the whole reason I started DMing was we were talking about D&D in Leaky's chat. And he was like, oh yeah, I fancy playing that at some point. Let me know if you've got any games or whatever. And we just started talking about it. So obviously I was like, okay, cool. So I've got Danny, because obviously. I've got Leaky now. And I was thinking, I know Jar Jar plays because Jar Jar had spoken about running a game for us. But he said he was going to be several months off because he was finishing a campaign that he was in the middle of running. He'd have to finish that before picking up another one. So it's like, I know he plays and he wants to play, and so I'm going to ask him as well before he DMs one for us, which I don't think he's going to do now. But
I'm happy with the occasional one shot, to be honest.
Yeah, so that was the first 3. And then obviously my sibling, I knew they wanted to play. So I was like, okay, well, I'll ask them. And their girlfriend at the time, which was the one that dropped. Because my sibling wanted someone there that they knew. So that was 5. Who am I missing? Oh yeah, Forrest, obviously. Sorry, Forrest.
Obviously. You just go without saying because you're a fellow DM now. This is the way.
Yeah, because I feel like I was having a budding friendship with him at that point, and I knew he was creative. So yeah, I asked him, and he was interested, and I think I just lucked out. Yeah.
And yet your sprightly companion, champion of Rocket League teammate, awesome best friend in the world ever. Didn't even think of me. Can't believe it.
As soon as you mentioned to me, you were like, "Oh, you're running D&D? Like, I would like to play." I considered doing a 7-person group, but I got told that it was a bad idea to have a larger group, and because it was my first time getting back into DMing, I was like, I'd prefer the smaller group. So you were my first of the people I was going to contact.
I was the first loser. Yep. Yep.
I didn't know you wanted to play.
I don't mind. I agree with what you're saying. Like it makes sense. No hard feelings.
But yeah, so I run for the 5 of you now because I'll be dropped. But I do like my group of 5. I considered asking someone else to join, and I had someone in mind. However, I decided against it because the group dynamic was so good. I didn't want to bring someone in, and like as much as I like the person, I'm not sure how they would have got on with the group because it was someone new. So I was like, I'm just going to keep it as it is. This is running well. Let's carry on.
I think one of the ways you can tell you've got a perfect dynamic, and I'm not saying if you don't have this, you haven't got a good one. I'm just saying if you have a perfect, bang on the money one, is that you'll agree to meet at a time, and the game won't actually start for an hour.
Yeah.
Because everyone's just chatting, catching up, having a laugh.
Yeah.
Even though it happens every week. It's not like we're catching up for months of missing each other. It's just been a week.
Yeah.
But we're just, it's great. Although sometimes I do wish everyone would shut up so we could play.
Yeah.
It's like win, lose that one. But at the same time, yeah.
Yeah. I'm always happy for like, I basically, at the beginning of my sessions, I completely eliminate that first half an hour. I'm like, we meet at 6, but we're not going to get started till at least past because I'm happy for you guys to just chat and catch up.
Yeah. I mean, I set my Discord events for 7 on the odd chance that the people who don't have to get home from work late might want to come in and chat.
Yeah.
And often you do, but evidently we don't usually start till 7:30 or 7:45, 7:45 even.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good sign. If you reckon you and a bunch of people could just chat for hours, then there'll be a good D&D group, in my opinion. Yeah,
definitely. And I know some people tend to try and fill up for bigger groups. Like I know I started with 6. I'm very happy with the 5. But some of my favourite sessions have been 3-player sessions, so you can have the smaller groups and have extremely enjoyable games. You don't feel the need to add other people in there.
There's some things to be said about the smaller groups. I mean, combat rounds are shorter. You get to have more turns in a game.
Yeah.
The RP can be more... the only word I can think of is intimate.
Yeah.
Like, not in a romantic sense, but I still go back to the drunken favourite moment we had in one of the first episodes. Whereas me, Forrest, and Danny just role-playing being drunk in a tavern for a night.
Yeah.
And that was just really damn fun.
Yeah.
But equally, the big group also sometimes take the pressure off you to roleplay if you're not in the mood that night or whatever. Not in the mood. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're not as energetic.
Yeah, but on the subject of like role-playing and stuff as well, if you do have a quieter player, smaller groups, potentially, definitely for me, are going to make them feel more comfortable because there's not as many people there. And you've got more chance to speak up and get involved.
Especially, actually, I say especially online. I obviously have never played in person, so I wouldn't know. But online, at least, it's very easy for people to talk over each other in Discord.
Yes.
I'm actually quite amazed at how little we do that in our group.
Yeah, we're quite good.
Quite impressive. But then equally, if you're in person, if you're a shy person, you might be more shy in person than online. So
yeah.
I guess it kind of could go both ways.
Yeah, definitely. It's just finding what works for you and your group, really.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, as well, if you're new, having less players could make it feel less intimidating as well.
Although equally, having more players gives you more example of what you could do. Not necessarily what to do, but it's like watching other people play is a learning experience for how to play yourself sometimes.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, we've covered it before, but some people use voices, some people don't. Some people RP every little action they do, and I love it when they do that. And some people just say, I'm going to do this, and I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, 50-50. I don't know what I mean by 50-50. Swings and roundabouts.
Swings and roundabouts.
Bob's your uncle. What? Who? Vocabulary. Moving on.
Changing ideas during the campaign. Thoughts?
I mean, we've covered it slightly in the session 0 to 1 bit.
Yep.
Obviously, you've just got to be careful not to ruin anything you've already done, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
No one's going to nitpick if there's a tiny little inconsistency. People can happily, use suspension of disbelief, especially since no one's expecting you to be the perfect storyteller. No one's saying you're J.R.R. Tolkien or George R.R. Martin. Why do they both have R.R. in the middle of their names? Is that just a thing?
Don't know.
If I want to be a legendary storyteller, should I change my name to Sounds R.R. Wild?
Maybe.
Hi, I'm Sounds R.R. Wild. I
amazing.
stole a ROS from Mark Hume. Anyway, yeah, no one's going to nitpick you for small things, but obviously you can't say the galaxy is this way and that the galaxy is this other way 5 minutes later. But at the end of the day, if your players don't know something, then it's not really canon yet.
Yeah.
So, fuck it.
Yeah. I have done this more than I would like to admit. The biggest example of which is when I started the campaign, I was using the Eberron gods. And I have completely I've completely discarded those because none of you have encountered gods or anything yet, and I have made my own.
I like it. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, so that's one of the big ones that I've done, but it, like I say, it's, like you said, sorry, it is, for me, very much if the players haven't encountered it yet, it's not quote-unquote real yet, so you can change it.
I think, for me, the only case I've changed something that was pre-planned, as opposed to made something up that didn't exist yet, was when one of my players left, who I had a big plan for some of their backstory. And I was like, well, this story, I've already laid foundations for it in the world, but it no longer really makes sense to happen in the background.
Right.
So I'm going to shift it to one that makes sense in the background and still aligns with the clues I've left behind.
Yeah.
So that it can happen off camera, if that makes sense, and
That
not feel like, why did this really important thing happen off camera? Because that would be kind of like boring for people who are supposed to be main characters.
Yeah.
That's the only change I've made.
It's fair.
But yeah, it's totally a thing. Don't feel scared to change things. Equally, though, there is a concept in some other similar storytelling devising things where you kind of, I don't know what the word is. This is where the vocabulary thing happens again. There's kind of something to be said for integrity, in that if you change too much on the fly, it kind of might end up feeling random. Whereas if you come up with something solid from the beginning, then the narrative is more likely to be consistent in theme.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you can't change anything. It just maybe like point in case, if that's even the right phrase. Is it case in point? I don't fucking know. Take your campaign, for example. Say I was running it and I had this massive plan with this dragon egg and this queen and this stuff going on. and then next session, I just decide to go, fuck it. And then say a meteorite hits and destroys the egg and the whole city's gone. It feels like the last 30 sessions were a waste of time.
Yeah.
So yes, you can change stuff, but it feels like it should stay somewhat on a loosely straight line.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, throw in twists, plot twists, all you want, but there's no point, in my opinion, in undoing stuff you've already done.
It's very true. Very true.
What are your thoughts?
No, yeah, I definitely agree. I think for me it's been easier because I had a loose idea of where the story was going to go. Because obviously I'm running a sandbox, so I've got several things in motion. I've got like the idea of where things would go. It's just like the details on how those things happen that I can switch around and change and bits and pieces. But with you saying your player dropped out, which is always a sad moment, it is group storytelling, and I like to call it adaptive storytelling as well, because you are adapting to things as they come up. Like, you're adapting to how your players are affecting the story and where they're going, and if players come in and out, or if a player adds something extra to their backstory and you want to bring that in, you can change things around a little bit to fit that in. And yeah, it's...
I mean, this is where you can take it all the way to the extremes, which I think neither you or I are anywhere near comfortable doing yet. I'm just improving entirely.
Oh, God.
I say entirely. I'm sure even improv DMs have the vaguest idea of where a session's going to go.
Yeah. I imagine.
They're just happy to throw a lot of stuff in at the same time. I still love the moment where Jar Jar did his one shot and at the end he was just like, sure, infernal just sounds like quacking. I was like, you made that up, but I like it.
Oh, yeah, that was a fun session.
Balance.
And the last point I want to come up with is struggles of DMing. There are lots.
I mean, I've just brought up improvisation. I've said it on the podcast before. I've said it to Pine's face like every 5 seconds. I hate it when I plan something and I'm just like, yep, that's enough info. They don't need to know anymore. It's unlikely they'll ask for any more. This is just a background character. And then they ask me some question about his uncle's dog. And I'm like, don't make me come up with stuff on the spot. Granted, I feel that's a flaw rather than me having anything to complain about. I should have maybe thought about that beforehand. Not necessarily his uncle's dog, but at least his uncle. Sort of thing. But
I feel like...
Let me just take this to the blacksmith to get it valued. What's the blacksmith's name? I don't fucking know. I made it up. That's not how it happened, but that's what happens in my head when it happens.
Yeah. I feel like this falls into the brackets of players are going to throw curveballs at you and you can't be prepared for everything.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. It's going to be the case. As much as you try and prepare, I have prepared so much and still had curveballs thrown at me, like someone trying to steal a bed from a house.
Oh, mate, that was classic.
It was a good
You
moment.
handled it amazingly.
We complain. Well, we don't really complain. Well, you complain a little bit, but
I did a little bit.
Talk about improv. So some of those moments are the funniest.
Agreed.
And
the entire pink leg fiasco is one of the highlights of the campaign so far, I think.
Yeah,
I think we've missed it before. Big old construct guy with a beard, girl with blue skin. It's great.
I feel like we stress about it outside of the sessions, but when you're actually in the zone and you're DMing, sometimes when these improvs come at you, at least it does for me, you're just already in the zone, so it comes a bit easier than you would expect. I don't know whether that's the same for you.
When it goes well, yes. So again, the pink leg example was one where I felt like, oh, I've actually got a fun idea for this. This has come to me naturally. Whereas the one I keep going back to with the blacksmith just stresses me out because for some reason the first name that came to my head was Yondu. which is the blue guy from Guardians of the Galaxy. And immediately for the rest of that entire session, all I could think of was, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all! Which had nothing to do with anything.
It's such that classic D&D trope, well, tabletop RPG trope, though, of, what's the name? Come on, what's the name? Tell us what the name is, DM.
No, I refuse. I could just go to another trope and say, his name is not pronounceable in your tongue. Right, what do you struggle with?
Well, I was going to say not necessarily what I struggle with, but one of the mini points I've got down here is one of the things you will probably struggle with is finding a time to play.
Oh, right, you meant to play. I wasn't even thinking about that. When you put finding time, I was thinking about finding time to write.
No, finding...
Time is the enemy. The one true enemy. Entropy will cause all to fail. Life is limited. Make the most of it. I'm now going to have to bring up an existential crisis every episode now.
No, please
I've done it
don't.
twice in a row. I've just done it twice in a row. That means it's a trend.
No.
If I do it next episode, then it's a pattern and it's just, we can't stop. It's unstoppable.
Just make sure you don't have a rant about square and hexagonal grids.
Fucking square grids!
You can't say the fucking square grids when you don't like hexagonals either.
Grids in general. Anyway, time.
Yeah,
Tick,
finding
tock,
time.
Tock, tick, tick, tock. I really wanted you to just carry on while I did that, but never mind.
I thought you were trying to say something important and I was talking over you. I
was just ticking and talking. Not like Jen said. I don't do that kind of TikTok. That's your job. You do that stuff.
Do that stuff. Well, I'm on a break from doing that stuff, but I'm going to be doing that stuff again soon.
Links below somewhere in whatever counts as a description.
Okay, tangent end.
So many tangents. Time.
Finding time to play is one of the banes of every group's life. Because, especially as adults, everyone's on their own schedule. Everyone's busy. Ooh, I just hit my mic. Whoopsie. That's how energetic I'm getting about this. Everyone's
adults.
so busy.
I don't know what you mean by adults. I don't feel like an adult.
Unfortunately, we are officially classed
Although
as adults.
Here's another existential crisis. I did realise it's only like 2 years until I'm twice the age of my nephew. So that's depressing. That's
your own personal existential crisis.
Yep, that's another tangent. Carry on.
Yeah, I am very lucky in that I found a time that works for our group every week on a Sunday, 6 p.m. That's when we get together. But I know that some people have issues with players cancelling last minute and all this stuff. When I did my session 0, I said, if half the players are still there or more, I'm still going to run. Because I didn't want it to be a case of we're having to skip loads of weeks because loads of people were off doing bits and pieces. Like, don't get me wrong, if it's a section that's specifically designed to a player and that player isn't going to be there, I'm not going to run the session without them. But generally...
Equally, if it's an important thing for everyone.
Yeah. But generally, most sessions, if more than half of the people there, I will still run because I had a group in the past where it was impossible to get these people together. And I felt like if there was that slight pressure, it sounds bad, but if there was that slight more pressure of, if I'm not going to be there, I'm going to miss out, then people might be more likely to turn up. And if people do keep missing, then you can be like, maybe this isn't for them. So we'll deal with that.
I've literally missed one single session. And it wasn't even one of yours, so it doesn't count. How long? 1.5 years? Because I just want to be there.
Yeah.
I refuse. Sunday is my priority. Unfortunately, I had to move and I couldn't do it on any day but a Sunday the other week, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree. It is a pain. But yeah, running without people to an extent. Obviously, if one person shows up, then probably don't run the session.
Yeah.
But yeah, And again, it led to some of the fun, intimate moments of there just being three of us around.
Yeah.
In downtime, having a good time.
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely good.
Also, because someone has to control the person missing if you're in combat, gives you a chance to have a little look at some other classes.
Yeah, this is very true.
If you're a player, which is good fun.
Yeah, definitely.
I had a look at a wizard. I got confused by prepared spells because I'm in a sorcerer's mindset. Just like, spells are spells. Let me just fling them at people. What else have I had a look at? I haven't actually looked at many of the martial ones yet. I don't think I've had a chance to control any of them.
No, I think, yeah, so Leaky has missed a couple, but I think he's been there for like 90% of mine. I don't think he's missed that many of mine. But I know Jar Jar is the person who is missing most of the time. If there's someone missing, it will be Jar Jar, but he's in a different time zone.
Literally, 4 hours away.
Yeah.
Can't be dinged. Words. Oh, I'm so good with words.
But yeah, and he's been moving recently and had loads of things happening, so... yeah.
I mean, I feel like you were doubly lucky in that initially we were doing Fridays, and like there wasn't anything stopping us from doing Fridays. It was just more convenient to do Sundays.
Yeah.
From memory. So it's like we as a group were very lucky. Like I said, what is it like to have one jackpot?
Well, you said, yeah, it's a good feeling. Like, I know I'm lucky as a DM.
Well, we're lucky as players. We're equally lucky.
But I have had my share of, well, probably less of a share, but still I've experienced having to drop campaigns and people not showing up and player issues and all that. So it is really nice to have this constant.
Agreed. Well, have you got anything else to say on this entire topic? You do. Carry on.
Because as much as it shouldn't be, as you're in the role of the DM, like, you are looked at for the leader of the group for that period of time. Which unfortunately means player issues tend to fall to you.
Ooh.
Which can be very awkward.
Controversy.
Yes.
Pressure. So much pressure.
This is something you can, if you're having issues with a particular player that's not turning up, or is being a bit disruptive, you can talk to your other players about it to get their opinion and get advice, and you can ask for their support and bits and pieces. But yeah, it can be a bit of a not the best situation to be in when there is player issues.
I've not actually thought about this much at all. Now that you mention it, I'm thinking about it. As a player, I actually tend to clash with the DM more than I clash with other players. I normally argue with you and Forrest about rules. Have
we had an argument about rules?
I was very adamant that I should be allowed to get my opportunity attack after casting Distant Whispers. And initially there was a bit of, should you?
Yeah.
And then, what was the other one? Oh yeah, reach. There was the one with Forrest where an opponent had 10-foot reach. And my argument was that I'm not disengaging from him until I leave his reach. It's not when I leave my reach. Anyway, it didn't matter because at the end of the day, DM rule is what's more important, and we moved on with life. But yeah, those are the only clashes, in quotations, I can even think of as a player.
Well,
again, because we have such a great group.
Yeah, I know as a DM though, you have had to ask someone to leave the table.
Oh, again, hit the jackpot with that because you were so understanding.
Yeah.
It wasn't a case of no interest. It wasn't a case of he thought the world revolved around him. It was just literally too busy with work.
Yeah.
He really enjoyed the sessions he came to, but it was kind of like he showed up to less than half, or around about half of the sessions in total. But luckily, he was really understanding. Top lad, and accepted it quite readily. And we got someone else in. But I was very stressed about that. As someone who wants to try and please everyone, which obviously is always impossible. Lesson in life, don't try that. It's not fun. But yeah, what? Yes, words.
Yes. I think
I'm swapping between being very, very talkative and then just forgetting all words today.
Yes, that's great. But yeah, if you are not comfortable having those discussions with players, you could always ask another player in your group to have those discussions, like player to player.
Especially if they know them better.
Yeah, or try and have like one-on-ones with them to discuss issues and sort of gently try and push them to be better in the group. If that is the case, and yeah, just
And if they are going to be assholes, why are you friends with?
yeah. The other thing I would bring up with this is that as well, though, if a player isn't gelling with the group and you are friends with them and you do have to ask them to leave the table, it might be a bit awkward, but at the same time, I would hope that they would be good enough friends to still be friends with you outside. Like, just because you're good friends with someone, it doesn't automatically mean that everyone's going to gel in a group. But
It is, yeah. Again, I haven't really thought about it, but it's probably one of the tougher things. And I'm glad you brought it up because it completely went over my head. So be prepared. Not necessarily be prepared for that situation, but be prepared to be prepared for that situation.
yeah, just
If that makes any sense.
just be aware that those situations may arise. Like, fingers crossed they don't, and you've got a great team and everything. But if they do arise, just maybe have someone in your head that you're like, if I am having issues, like if you're not comfortable dealing with them, just have someone in your head to be like, this is going to be the player I'm going to ask. Maybe even ask a player to back you up in certain situations. Just be like, you could talk to a player and be like, I'm having issues with this one, or we're having issues with this one. I don't feel comfortable addressing it myself as a GM. Could you back me up in certain situations? Or help? But yeah.
Am I jumping the gun again, or have you now finished all the
I have
topics
now
you wanted to say?
finished. We can move on.
I have a question for you in that case.
Okay.
What does your jetpack look like?
My jetpack is painted in like what's the word called when two colours change in light?
Gradient?
Iridescent? Like an iridescent sort of black, purple jetpack, but it's like circular with one funnel that comes out of the back and it shoots out sparkles.
What? No, that's my answer. You cheated. Evil. I was actually thinking of how to describe my one, and then you said the word sparkle. I was like, what?
No, it puts out black smoke. I'm going to say black smoke. There we go. You can have your sparkles.
No, don't want them anymore.
Okay. Well, there's black sparkles. Black sparkles coming out of mine now.
Black sparkles? What does that even look like?
Amazing. That's what it looks like.
Guess I have to go with my backup plan. Mine shoots rainbows. But anyway, let us partake in another flight on these jetpacks and go over to the beloved section known as Favourite Player Moments. Away! I did the arm pointy thing again. I can't resist. If I had a jetpack, I'd do it in real life all the time. I'd be like, away, and then start levitating up.
So I'm doing the things where you put your hands out like as if they're on handles and like pressing buttons on top.
Fair. Player moments.
Player moments.
I feel like we've... Hold on. Let me plan what I'm trying to say. We've been in big moments for a lot of campaigns, for a lot of the episodes recently. I feel like that's died down a little for two of them. In your campaign, we're still very much in the heat of things. But yeah, I think that gives us a bit more variety for what to choose from. So, what's your favourite moment from recentness?
My favourite moment, which I hope he doesn't mind me saying, but I have recently found out was completely improv, was we returned to a village and we found out that they were following these texts that are the previous team member had left behind. Let's not get into that.
I mean, that's another favourite moment, to be honest, but carry on.
But we found out that they'd locked up a witch in a cave. And mine and your characters, so Venari and Valnot, went to, well, basically was told these people, like, you shouldn't be locking witches up in a cage. You shouldn't be locking people up in general. That's bad. Don't do it. So we went and freed this witch, but she had a cat with her that was like patrolling the bars and hissing and growling at these people. And I just loved the moment where Valnot just walks. You said something about, oh, it's all about confidence or something. I just walked up to it and started petting the cat. It just rolled over like, meow, meow, give pets.
Yes, that was, I was very interested to see what would happen. What Forrest would ask for if he'd ask for a roll. Did he ask for an hunting roll?
I don't think he did.
Can't remember. Maybe he just agreed with me that confidence was key. Yeah. And I was intrigued to see what happened, and then it just worked, and Valnot and myself were both surprised. Because like the idea behind it was like Valnot would have heard from people that confidence is key, but he'd never seen it in real life. And so when this cat literally just rolled over onto its back, he was like, oh, this does work. So that was pretty funny. And then also the witch just being like, traitor to the cat was quite funny as well.
That witch is what just automatically became my favourite NPC of that campaign. And I've only got to interact with her for like 5 minutes, but she was like...
Certainly up there, I agree.
Yeah, she was completely capable of getting out of this cage herself because she did have magic. She was completely capable, but she was just like entertaining herself by being like, you can't keep me locked up. I was like, it's a free bed.
And then she was like, yeah, free bed, free meals, can't complain.
Yeah. And then just disappeared off, and then I rolled a really high perception check and just saw this seagull flying away with a cat on its back. I was like, it's perfect.
What an image. Well, my one is where you, as a DM, you managed to get one over on Jar Jar, which is a rarity because Jar Jar is quite experienced in these things. And we were in this big combat for the city, defending the city, and you were like, my players are high enough level now that I'm going to send some proper spellcasters at them. Well, proper, I say, balanced still. And Jar Jar's character Gimlin went to cast one of his spells that does stuff, although, side note, as a meme, we joke that Gimlin? Who the hell's Gimlin? Gimlin. We joke that Gimlin never hits with his spells anyway, because for the first half of the campaign he never hit anything. He was always rolling below 10. But I think he was going to hit with like Witch Bolt or whatever, and you just pulled out a counter spell for the first time, and he was just like, you mother... like he was gonna swear, and he had to hold it back, and I fucking loved that.
I loved that moment. The thing that made that moment so great is that the spell that he was trying to use was Tasha's Hideous Laughter.
Oh, the one that you hate. I remember.
And it is the bane of my life, because I don't think I've had a single NPC roll that save. So he was like, I'm going to cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter. I was like, okay, cool. And then I was like, I'm just going to check something real quick. And I was like, I do have Counterspell. No, you're not.
But his reaction was gold. Yeah. Absolute gold.
It was such a good moment. Like, for me, it's one of those evil DM moments where you're like, I know this is infuriating for the players, but like in a good way.
But also, I mean, it's at the end of the day, players are going to have access to the same spell, so it can be infuriating for the DMs just as much.
Yeah, it's just
the DM's got this evil plan all mapped out, and you're like, counterspell, and then he's like, oh, I guess that isn't happening.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I feel like it's a really weird thing to say, but infuriating players and players infuriating DMs, like not properly, but like in the I was going to do something really cool, is just great moments indeed.
I mean, it proves that they're invested.
Yeah.
And that's what you want.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
I mean, I've always jokingly said my goal is to get someone to cry. I don't want them actually upset, but I want them to be invested in their character and what's happened to their character or one of their character's friends or whatever.
Yeah.
That they feel genuine emotion. And that would be absolutely incredible, I think.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen on streams before, so it's doable. I'm going to make it cry, Pine.
We'll see who gets there first.
Well, let's wrap that section up nice and quickly because we both actually just prepared for once.
Yeah, good moments, good moments.
Oh shit, that means it's quick RP time. I'm not ready. I am ready, but I'm not ready.
Okay.
But what?
What?
Help.
I can't. You've got the notes. You made this.
Oh dear. Slowly trudges the jetpack back on. Spends extra time doing the straps for no reason to buy time. Oh no, my engines are faulty. I do look forward to these.
I cast mending.
I do look forward to these, but equally, the moment before they start, I'm just like, because it's still very different. This is only the third time I've done it. It still feels very fresh. And I don't know how entertaining they are for listeners. I don't know how entertaining it is for you. It's scary. I
find it very entertaining.
Anyway, on the jetpacks we go over to a land of Erois once more.
Yeah.
To Erois. Right.
Do I need dice?
I would say grab a D20 just in case, but I don't plan for you to need them.
I have one of my cool metal D20s. Let's go.
Nice. So, last time, Amnesty had a badass fight with a drunk dragonborn, a little young boy. She fucking smacked him over the face with a chair or something. I can't remember the details. Here's a fun fact. I'm really bad at recaps as a DM. I just give up half the time. No. And then, while having her wounds tended to, got some really sage advice from this old lady who, in case anyone else didn't notice, because I think we mentioned it after the podcast ended, turned out to be Sayana, the god who Amnesty is one of the two gods that Amnesty looks up to. Watching over her already. And Amnesty decided that night she was ready to leave. And so, some few days later, maybe, late at night, we find her at the very edge of Horizon by one of the ports. The mixed blue and green auroras of the cradle drift overhead in their never-ending dance above the skies of Erois. The warmth of Palador's sun rays had dipped below the vanishing point of the planet below some hours ago, and while a sky city like Horizon never sleeps, very few beings are awake and active in this part of the city near the skyship ports dedicated for public transport to the lowlands. Besides the odd employee of the commercial shipping company, only a lone dwarf keeps you company, though he is slumped on a neighbouring bench beneath one of the sparse lamps lighting the port platform, snoring away, surrounded by travel bags totaling twice his own size. You, Amnesty, you watch silently as huge skyships are ferried in and out of ports, mesmerised by the enormity of some of the freight carriers. There are dull, beat-up metal hulls with gargantuan sheets of glowing, rune-laden sails enchanted to capture more wind than seems possible, while the entire craft is kept buoyant by numerous huge cylindrical Ethereum engines, which, when powered, emit bright teal wisps of energy and billow hot air that distorts the view behind it. Some minutes ago, your attention flicked back to the ship before you, the vessel you'll be travelling in. It's finished with an almost sparkling white painted wood for the hull, and a more natural but very well varnished light brown on the decking. The sails have been lowered, revealing the black stylized H before a setting sun, the emblem of Horizon, and the engines have begun to hum loudly, lifting the whole ship into a hover just above where it rests on its docking port. Soon enough, a uniformed half-elf in a white longcoat and tricorn comes into view up in the main deck, and seemingly at his command, a portion of the side railing falls away and a telescopic gangplank extends to the port, He approaches the benches where you and the sleeping dwarf sit and asks quietly, I assume you are awaiting the 2 a.m. service. Is this all your luggage?
Yes.
Are you travelling light? Have you got loads of bags? What you got?
I think she's travelling light. I think she's pretty much just packed a backpack.
Well, in that case, please make your way on board. I'll wake our friend here and assist with his bags. And once you're both on, I'll show you to your rooms. He does as he says, gently getting the dwarf's attention and easily lifting one of the bags before leading the two of you up the gangplank. Halfway across the empty deck to the soft white carpets of the stairway leading down into the ship. Along the walls of the stairwell are portraits of various sky captains in well-decorated frames. And when you reach the first floor down, these portraits give way to incredible landscape paintings of all sorts of sights. Some you recognise from the storybooks and textbooks detailing places in Erebos of fame, from the sandy desert cities of the Dragonborn with their great ancient ships serving as enormous palaces, the great dwarven city of Goldthrone built beside the huge golden peaks sparkling in the sunlight, to the tropical beaches and many small islands of the Starfall archipelago, where the still sea captures the stars like no other. The interior of the ship is ornate, with white painted walls and the carpet flipping to black, mimicking the exterior of the ship. The doors are a matte ebony with gold handles, and after passing by a few on each side of the corridor and making a left-hand turn, you reach a dead end with 2 final doors, one to either side. The half-elf gestures to the door on the right while looking at you. Your room, ma'am? Before holding the door open for you, and then doing the same for the dwarf on the other side, and gently lowering the bag he was carrying. He then pulls out 2 gold-coloured keys, handing one to each of you. Due to the late-night nature of this service's start, breakfast will remain open from 6 until midday. Lunch is served between 1 and 2, and dinner at 6 till 8, with drinks being served until midnight. The captain and his officers, at this point he reaches down and sort of pushes forward part of his shirt where a badge reads Steward Officer Leonin. The captain and his officers are often present in the dining and shared leisure area of the ship during the evenings, and you're free to mingle with anyone you like. In the case of an emergency, every room, deck and hallway is fitted with this runic array, at which point he points to part of the wall in the corridor, which has an engraving of the same H symbol before a sunset, but surrounding it is a circle of arcane runes. And if you just tap this, it will alert all the officers and someone will be in contact with you with due urgency. I do hope you find your suites comfortable, and if you need anything else, I will be on watch on the upper deck we just came from for the duration of the night. At this point, the dwarf nods his thanks and quietly shuffles into his room. Clearly not one for talking at the moment and ready for more sleep. Leonin gives you a bright smile. At this point, you have some options. You can continue to chat with Leonin, or you can head off to sleep.
I'll just ask. Thank you. I appreciate it. How long is this journey going to be?
Well, damn it, improvisation. We talked about this. You remember that DM I sent you yesterday where we said we don't know where you're going yet? Sorry, I'll cut this bit out. Let me just think of an answer. Damn it, Pine.
We can cut the whole thing out, and I'll just say thank you and go to sleep.
That's boring.
If you don't want to say.
It just feels weird that you'd ask when you know it would be several days, and you would know how many days is the only thing.
I didn't know whether she knew, to be fair. Okay, never mind. I'm going to change my thing. It's going to be more improv for you, though, probably.
Brilliant.
Just say. How is the weather going to be looking for the travel?
Well, it's quite a clear sky tonight, and we have forecasts from the chief navigators that it should be similar, at least until the 3rd night of the journey. Maybe some overcast, but nothing too dangerous, no storms or the like. We'll have a fine view of the cradle and the stars for most of the journey.
Brilliant. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
With that, he nods with a sort of half bow and turns to leave, and you make your way into a similarly decorated suite. There's similar themes of of sparkling and shiny whites and matte blacks. I mean, you're on a sky ship from the Sky City of Horizon. They don't hold back on the luxury. Compared to sky ships you may encounter in the future, this is basically a 5-star hotel. There's plenty of space, plenty of storage. Everything is soft to the touch and comfortable. All of the features work. You can have a nice hot shower, all sorts of things. But eventually, you find yourself trying to sleep. But the hum of the engines is distracting, and this is the first time Amnesty will have ever left the Sky City. The whole city has been Amnesty's world for all of her life, with the exception of the odd storybook about the lowlands and the other cities. And, well, tell me, do you think she would be nervous?
Yeah, I think she's nervous and excited, and if there is a window in this room, she's probably stares out of it for a while. She's, yeah, there's definitely nerves.
Those same wisps of the cradle could be seen through the window, and eventually the sight does lull Amnesty to sleep. However, after some time, she wakes again, and things feel a bit weird, and she's not sure why. But after some moments, she realizes she feels heavier, and by extension, she realizes the ship has just taken off. They're no longer hovering in port, they're going up. And it's really sort of jolted her awake in a way that she doesn't think she'll get to sleep again. What do you do?
Have a quick look out the window. And potentially make my way up to the deck.
Incredibly, with your glance out the window, you realise just how fast these ships are. It's been maybe 15-20 seconds since you started takeoff, and if you crane your neck enough and try and fit your eye against the glass to get as best angle as you can, Horizon maybe takes up the same size as your thumb in the distance, down and to the side. It already looks like it's a good mile away, to be honest. And yeah, you make your way to the door and along the corridors again, passing the landscapes and the captains, and go on.
As she's passing all the landscapes, she's like taking a moment on each, just taking in their sights.
Just as Amnesty comes into the upper deck, into the open air, the cool air, right next to her, on a bench next to the stairs, is Leonin. He once again offers a wide, or a polite, friendly smile, and straight up says, "Trouble sleeping?"
Yeah, the takeoff caught me a bit by surprise.
Is this your first time travelling?
Yes, it is.
Here, have some of this. It's white tea, special recipe from my family. And no, it's not just milk, it's a special herb. Although, not one of those special herbs. He gets a little bit flustered as he says this. But it'll help settle the stomach. And hands over, or pours out a second cup. You can see he was already holding one of a steaming, very creamy looking, as he says, tea. Hands it over and makes space for you on the bench if you should so like to sit next to him.
Yeah, I'll as I'm sitting down, I'll take a sniff of the tea and go, I was expecting something a bit stronger, but I'm sure this will work great.
You make a good point. It is one of the options. Unfortunately, I'm on duty, so not an option for me. If you do definitely want something like that, then I'm sure it could be arranged.
I'll see how this goes down first, but thank you.
I'm sure the cool air, and he looks up, the view will have you settled in no time. It's not an unfamiliar view, obviously, because, you know, you've seen the sky before, but where you grew up there's a lot of tall buildings, even in like the places where you actually lived, where the houses were. And so to see almost a full 180 view that is just pure stars and cradle and nothing else, it's quite overwhelming. And it's certainly a new experience. The closest you would have got to this is the few times you snuck to the ports on your sort of extracurricular adventures, where you would have been able to see down onto the planet below at the same time. But because obviously the planet is there, it's physical, it's solid, that didn't feel as empty as this does. And it's certainly something you've struggled to take your eyes off. After a few minutes, Leonin will ask, "So, what's your game? First time travelling, where are you going? What are you looking to do?"
Well, first time travelling, I kind of want to see as much as I can, really. Experience what it's like in somewhere that's not floating.
It's a good enough answer as any, similar to one I had when I first travelled. Although, as the years went by, and you can tell he's probably in his 40s maybe, I found myself preferring hearing the stories of the other travellers. They're far more adventurous than I ever was, and hearing some of the amazing things people get up to. That's why I love this job.
I imagine that sounds very nice. Hey, if I see you again on one of my travels, I'll be sure to tell you everything that I've gotten up to. Hopefully there'll be some fun stories.
Really? I like the sound of that. That sounds good. You know, I once heard of an Aarakocra who flew the Great Pilgrimage through the Valley of Storms. It's part of their training is joining the Messenger Guild. But he was struck by lightning and lost one of his wings. But when he woke up, he claimed to have been given a gift from Hesper to see glimpses of possible futures. I just couldn't imagine ever experiencing anything like that. But to hear about it is just incredible.
I've heard a lot of tales. That's a new one, though. As much as I enjoy hearing them, I'm hoping to get the chance to live some. Although, I doubt I'll be touched by the gods.
That's a rare enough thing. Do you know any of the places in particular? I mean, I've been about. I could tell you the marvels about every continent on this planet.
How about you tell me the most marvellous?
Where to start? I think, from my experiences, Zifena has the most to offer. It spans from the city of Great Atelion, where, I mean, the artists in that place, some of the paintings, the music, the festivals, it's like a different life. There's never a sad moment in that city. And then in the south, in Pelga, they have markets that make you feel like you could go to any country in the world, if that makes any sense. You can step from one tent to another and be transported across Erois. They seem to have everything from everywhere. Not to mention the trading does invite a certain flavour of mercenaries, or, well, let's just say it, piracy, to be honest. Not sure I'd like to live there, but it certainly would be exciting.
Huh. It's definitely piqued my interest.
The world is so much bigger than any of us could have thought as children. And I spend most of my time looking away from it as it gazes upwards. But at the same time, I don't know. I'm glad to see there's someone else of the youth looking to explore that. But I certainly will look forward to some correspondence if you do ever get up to anything.
I'll try to make some good stories.
And that is pretty much what I had prepped.
Bollocks. I mean, come
Bollocks!
on. I dropped my dice.
Amazing.
Sorry.
I say that's what I had prepped, but I imagine you would, like, the conversation would carry on into the night.
Yeah.
Obviously, you could tell from how you said you wanted to experience more than just hear about it. He would steer away from the interesting people and focus more on the interesting places.
Yeah.
And he'd share, his descriptions he's heard of the Dragonborn colonies in Gisela, how the Sanzessian Commonwealth typically includes a larger proportion of beast walkers and has singular dedication to various holidays for the gods. He mentions one you're familiar with, well, not Amnesty at this point, but you are. He talks about Savona and how they have a big preference for anything gold, anything Palador, and will gladly tell the story of Callie until the sun sets. We'll talk about El Seraph, where people choose to live simple lives in small tribes, but because of that they've got traditions that date back to the founding age that you don't see anywhere else. He re-mentions the Valley of Storms, which spans between a dwarven settlement called Mirskir, which has some of the oldest temples on the planet, all the way up to the mountainous city of Ara, where the Arakoka are from. And, I imagine you'd certainly, if not fall asleep on the bench, at least find a peace listening to him describe all these wondrous places.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where my little session ends.
Nice.
Not as grandiose as some of the other ones, but a step in the right direction.
No, it was good. I liked it. Nice and chill.
Nice and chill.
Nice and chill. Good.
Did we do an episode 6?
Oh my god, a whole 6.
Say this every time we finish a podcast now.
Yep.
We did a podcast.
Yay!
Hooray!
I was going to say high five for the podcast, but we've done that one already.
But we just finished a podcast. We just finished a podcast. We just finished a podcast.
Really, really late.
We got a week. Spoilers. Timestamp.
Spoilers.
But yeah, hope you enjoyed as ever.
Yeah.
Pi, did you enjoy?
I did. I really enjoyed. It's been a good one.
I also enjoyed, although my nose has slowly become more and more blocked up because it's pollen season.
Oh
no. So if I sound like really nasal towards the end, I apologise. But yeah, it's been an episode.
Episode.
I should make a remix with that. Episode. Anyway. Join us next time where we talk about some more things, D&D and or TTRPG and or our campaigns.
Yeah.
And have yourselves a fabulous fortnight. Assuming you listen to these as they release. If not, if you're binge listening to them, then you're a mad lad and I love you. And we'll see you in like 5 minutes. Bye.
Bye. Yes, I've... Blah, 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 blah.
Ah, yes, my favourite topic.
Yes.
Hi, bloopers at the end of the episode.
Hello, well done for making it this far.
Boop. There you go, now I have to edit one in. I will anyway.
Oh dear.
Go. Balance.
Balance.
we just call this episode Balance?
Maybe. Okay.
Bring balance to the Force.
Being balanced to the Force.